Well, good morning. Hello, everyone. My name is Grace Alt. I am the current International Thespian Officer Chair. I am a senior at Springfield Township High School from Winmore, Pennsylvania, and I am from Thespian Troop 1154.
Hi, my name is Alexandra Rivers. I am a senior at Hepburn Horsham High School in Horsham, Pennsylvania, and I am from Thespian Troop 2267.
Hi, I'm Hailey Brunson. I'm a senior at Rockridge High School and a member of Rockridge Performing Arts from Ashburn, Virginia, representing Troop 8104.
Hi, I'm Salwa Meghjee. I'm a freshman at UC Berkeley studying English, but I'm also an alumna of Thespian Troop 3266 from Longwood, Florida.
Each one of us girls is here for a different reason today. But what connects us, amongst many things that we discovered briefly while talking in our hotel rooms late last night, is the opportunities that EdTA and Thespians has given us as students. All these things that we've learned and everything that we have experienced has given us the ability to attest to how the freedom of expression we've had through ITS has helped us as we advance into the adult world. But during our time in high school theater, we've had very unique experiences that challenged, pushed, and changed our perspectives. This year's conference theme, The Changing Face of Theater Education, is something that each of us has had the opportunity to explore and self-reflect on during our years as initiated thespians. Today, we want to talk about how we have seen diversity and inclusion among students in theater take form during our time as high school thespians. Our stories and experiences have fueled us to talk about these issues, to find outlets to express our opinions. This panel is one of just many of the opportunities we hope to have to showcase why student diversity and inclusion in theater cannot go undiscussed.
Now, of course, diversity is a large and all-encompassing term, and we are only 4 girls. However, the stories we bring are diverse in their natures, as while each of us gathered a somewhat similar message, we have gone through drastically different journeys to arrive at these points. We all have something different to share, as does every theater student. And today, we stand here to serve as the voices of theater students. And while we are all different, all having faced our fair share of unique adversity, ultimately, we have found through theater, there is hope, as well as a large wealth of opportunities right under our fingertips.
We are here today, of course, to explore diversity, but really we are offering you a student perspective. We are not professionals in any field, we're just students, we're just a reflection of the kids that you teach every single day. And so, of course, what things we may say may be great ideas, but we often don't have the power to implement these things. And so today we're sharing our experiences and our stories and our hopes so that you as our wonderful theater teachers can hopefully take us back to your programs and include.
Our time as thespians has profoundly impacted all of our lives. We've had our share of challenges, but hopefully by engaging in an open dialogue about our personal experiences, we can work towards a future in which students like us can have experiences that are as rewarding and as fulfilling as ours were, without having to fight for their right to opportunity and an excellent theater education.
So, I'm going to be speaking first, and once again, my name is Grace. I'm 17 years old, and I'm from Pennsylvania. I serve as the ITO chair, which is an incredible opportunity, and so I know a lot of people in this room. I'm really lucky to know you all. But I'm here today because of the first opportunity I really got with thespians that transformed my life from there, and that was almost 2 years ago when I entered the Democracy Works essay contest. When I entered and was fortunate enough to win, everything from there changed. But when I wrote my Democracy Works essay, I had recently performed a scene at my state festival depicting a same-sex relationship. The emotional journey of performing this scene was very complex for me. First, it gave me the opportunity to evaluate my portrayal of a community that, at that time, was making major political headlines because of injustices brought to light that were facing them. This scene was extremely challenging to me because in doing this, I really wanted to balance the simplicity of love that all of us teenagers are experiencing when we're in high school, while showcasing how in 2014, things still had a long way to go for members of the LGBT+ community. At this time in high school, I was a sophomore, And for years, I had only heard my friends, family, and the media depict love as being heterosexual. I never fit into that conversation for a variety of reasons, but performing this scene let me dive deeper into who I was and my identity. It gave me an accessibility to something that the environment I grew up in never really had, and helped me to question the boundaries of love and the limits society placed on them in my mind. I am still very much in the process of self-discovery and identity, and I don't know who I am yet and what I can identify with yet completely, but theater helped enable me to look deeper into myself and questions in my thoughts and think about my words and actions in a very different way. I gained a new perspective on a community I had known nothing about and a stronger desire to advocate for equal rights. Playing different roles, one is literally able to try on different personalities, lifestyles, and mindsets, and this can help them discover who they are and what they want to contribute to society, particularly for high school students. Not only did performing this scene help me start to discover who I was, it opened up the conversation for others in my school as well. Once this scene hit the stage, for the next few weeks, the school was abuzz. I mean, I got all kinds of looks in the hallways. And I took them with really welcome arms, because what I discovered while I was doing that scene was how important it was to stand by something that I believed in. And when I was first cast as that role, I wasn't sure if I was ready to do this. It was my friend and I, and we had to kiss in front of our entire high school, and it was a really big step for us, taking on this kind of challenging role, but really questioning ourselves and diving into this perspective about a new community. But after this happened, and after all the buzz died down, more students began coming out publicly over social media outlets, or by making their peers aware of their relationships in my community. People began identifying themselves with new pronouns on their Instagram profiles, and that progressed boldly to then asking their teachers to address them differently. This was a major shift for the students in my high school, because at that point, there had been very few, if any, students publicly identifying as members of the LGBT+ community. Of course, this cannot all be attributed to one scene that I was performing in, but what I learned from this is the role of theater in advancing human rights, and how theater can positively change opinions and perspectives on like media and news sources. An entirely new attitude about human rights began to spread through the student and teacher population, and now I'm very proud to say that my high school was the first in the state of Pennsylvania to adopt a new transgender bathroom policy. In a democracy, people have the power of participation, but it takes courage to stand up for minority points of view. Theater has given me an opportunity to develop strength in my beliefs and to raise the consciousness of my community. I feel as though I am prepared to be an active citizen in my country's evolving democracy and to dive headfirst into political and cultural struggles.
Hello again. I'm Alexandra Rivers, and I am 17 years old from Portland, Pennsylvania. The learning you do as a child largely derives from listening to what those around you are saying. My mother told me that, as a child, I was always a listener. I would sit quiet and wide-eyed as I took in the vast amounts of information available to me. Of course, as with anything, there's a positive and a negative side to this. The positive being that you learn how to be a good person, how to speak, count, read, all of those good things. The negative comes when you hear the people around you saying hateful or rude comments. And as a child, it seemed like I was being told from all different directions that my view of Hispanics and Latinos in our country should not be a particularly good one. I heard about how thousands of Latinos were invading our borders, coming into our country to steal our jobs or to hurt our children. I heard of how there were people coming into our country only able to speak Spanish, and how this was a disgrace. I heard comments on how Hispanics are violent or lazy, or how most of them will never be more than a gardener or a landscaper. And I sat there and I thought, how could people think this about the culture that I am, that my grandma, my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, many of my friends are? Because to me, it's a very beautiful culture, and those stereotypes are not relevant. As I said before, children learn from the opinions of those around them. However, what I learned from these comments was not to accept them. Rather, I rejected them and learned at a very young age that, unfortunately, not all people say very nice things. While I learned to reject these negative stereotypes, they never truly left me fully. How could they? I was hearing them on TV and in the community. And I, as a young Hispanic girl, became very self-conscious that people would look down on me for being who I am. When I was 12 years old, I was just beginning to discover my love and passion for music and theater. I was in a phase where I was obsessed with the show Wicked, which I am now convinced is a warning sign that a preteen is developing a severe obsession with theater. One day, as I walked into my music classroom, I saw something written on the board that would go on to inspire me to be so much more than I thought I could be. West Side Story, the board read. As we all settled into the room, my music teacher, Mrs. Rubenlicht, began to tell us that day we would begin studying the iconic 1950s musical West Side Story. She began to tell us how this musical starred Hispanic characters. My eyes lit up. She then informed us that it was more specifically Puerto Rican characters, and I nearly jumped out of my seat, because I am part Puerto Rican. And as we began to dive more deeply into the musical, I saw more and more of myself and my own life reflected back at me. That was something that I had never seen much of before in a musical yet, and as silly as it may sound, I found comfort in it. I found comfort in hearing the characters in this ridiculously successful musical speak with the same accent as my grandmother. When my teacher asked her volunteers to read for the characters, you better bet that my hand shot straight up. I thought to myself, I know how to do these accents, they're the same as my abuela's. And I read with confidence and ease, all the while wondering if the other students felt as comfortable as I did. On that day, I discovered that there was theater for me too. There were pieces of theater that I could connect to on a more personal level. Extraordinarily successful musicals about or written by Hispanics like West Side Story or In the Heights or Hamilton proved to me that what the stereotypes said were wrong. Hispanics are so much more than their stereotypes. Everyone is so much more than their stereotypes. And everyone deserves that moment of, wow, there's theater for me too that I can connect with, regardless of what that is for them. Theater education was essential in helping me break out of my shell, molding me into the more confident person I am today. Theater education has, without a doubt, transformed my life. I am so fortunate to have a wonderful theater program at my school where we embrace all of our differences to ultimately portray a beautiful work of art. I learned about the art, of course, but also about the people who I'm working with. I've had the pleasure to work with such a diverse group of people who have all found, through theater education, a passion. I am beyond thankful for a wonderful director at my high school, Mrs. Lisa Stunder, who also embraces all of our differences. I'm thankful that I've never heard from her, "You just don't look the part." Because to me, comments like that disrupt the diversity of theater that enhances the arts so much. I am thankful that I'm in an environment where the way that I look or my culture do not hold me back. I'm so beyond thankful that I don't have a director who casts a couple because they look good together, or cast someone with blonde hair because our role is typically played by someone with such hair. In my school, we embrace our diversity, and that has truly enhanced my education in theater and my life in general. I've learned so much about others' diversity, regardless of what that is, whether it be issues with mental illness, or race, or any problems in our community. I am so thankful that my theater educators have exposed me to a diverse array of shows as well, where we are able to truly appreciate others and their differing experiences. Because at the end of the day, isn't that a large part of diversity? Trying to understand others' experiences, attempting to see past face value, looking past a stereotype, and seeing a person for themselves, who they truly are. Today I leave you with a quote that I always take with me in both theater and life from my favorite musical, Ragtime, and that is that we have different lives and faces, but our hearts have common places. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Hailey Brunson. I am 18 years old, and for nearly half of my life, I've been living with disability and chronic illness. Now, most people, when I say this, they look at me and they don't see a disability or chronic illness, and that is because I have what I call an invisible illness. At the age of 9, I was diagnosed with a chronic regional pain syndrome called CRPS or RMD, and I could go on for hours about the science behind it, but essentially, every day I carried a pain in my body, and more recently it's been held in my shoulder. And I put it on a pain scale level of a 10 or an 8, depending, but I've lived with it since I was 9, and it's pain that cannot be taken away by pain medication. Sometimes this pain moves my ability to walk, take notes in class, and hold a pencil. I have suffered from blindness and migraines to the point where I cannot leave my bed. But the beautiful thing, I think, about my illness is that it's taught me that I am more than my disability. I am everything that everyone else is. I have hopes and dreams and fears and insecurities. And that, yes, sometimes my day is a little bit harder, but I get through it and I'm happy with it. And I love being a part of theater and this amazing community. Now, I define disability in my own terms and a little bit help with the dictionary as a mental or physical disability or barrier that disrupts the daily life of the average person. So for me, every day when I wake up, I assess what pain I have today, and then I simply move forward. But the thing I would like to discuss is how the word disability weighs in my heart. For me, the word disability is an isolated term. It is a term that means I can do less, or that I am less, or that I am different in a negative way. And it has taken me 9 years, and I'm still working on it, to the point to be content with the idea that I have a chronic illness and that I am labeled and viewed as disabled. I think that often when I look in the mirror on a bad day or even a good day, I'm always reminded of the fact that I am ill and that I am disabled. And that's something I carry with me every day, the burden of my pain and the burden of the fact that I'm different from my peers. But what is beautiful to me and the beautiful thing about theater is that theater removes the barrier of disability. When I perform, true story, I do not feel pain. Whether that's just a scene or it's an entire show, I'm truly performing and not just rehearsing, which my director will argue that every rehearsal should be like a performance. That's a whole nother issue. My pain melts away. And when I perform, I just feel simply beautiful on stage. So I'm being very honest about it. And in my program, we also have a girl named Lucy, and she has Down syndrome. And the other day I asked her, because she loves to dance, I said, Lucy, when you dance, what do you feel? And she said she feels beautiful. And I think that's the power of performance. Performance is the ability to remove everything negative that we feel about ourselves. When we're on stage and we're another person, and we get to escape our lives for a little bit. But often what happens when I tell people I have a disability or an illness, I am placed on a pedestal. To no fault of anyone, I feel that people sometimes place me on a pedestal to highlight the fact and champion me for my disability and the fact that I can achieve amazing things despite my disability. But what happens when I feel singled out for my illness, I feel as if the word disability is written on my forehead and every insecurity I have about it is projected for everyone, including my peers, to see. The thing I love about my program and my director is I am not viewed as a student with disability first. I am viewed as a theater artist. I am viewed as a friend, a peer, sometimes a funny person, sometimes an angry person. I am viewed as myself, separate from my illness and separate from my disability. Now, I have been in programs where that has not always been the case, where I have told my teachers that I have these pains and these illnesses, and they give me special projects, or they put me to the side. And again, that further isolates me from the world that is already a little more challenging for me to be a part of. But the reason I think that I feel so included in my program is because of these 4 things. My director, when I first met him, and he's sitting right over there next to each other, he asked me about my illness. He wanted to learn about what the struggles I faced every day, and I felt as if he cared. And so whatever disability you students have, they will feel more welcome if you simply ask them, what goes on in your brain? What happens? How do you feel? How does this make you feel? What are your struggles every day? And the next thing that happened after I told him and educated him about my illness, we had an honest conversation. I think that being integrated into your theater program when you have disability is a two-way street. Of course, as an educator, it's your responsibility to care for the student with disability, and you have obligations to them and the rest of your company and make sure they're safe and healthy and happy in their environment. But as a child with disability, I am aware that it's also my responsibility to be honest with you as the teachers of what I can and cannot do and what my limits are. But because my director was so willing to learn about my illness, I was able to have that honest and open dialogue that I feel like every teacher and child with disability should be able to have with their educator. The next thing that happened was we trusted each other. He trusted me to let him know when I am reaching my limits, and I trust him to recognize when I am reaching mine. And sometimes I don't recognize that I have, and he will pull me back and allow me the time to be safe in my theater environment. And the last thing that I think is really beautiful and something that I've struggled with, for the longest time I did not want to be known, even remotely, that I had an illness. Because it is an invisible illness, I can walk around every day and people will never know that I suffer with chronic pain. And for the longest time, it was really hard for me to be a champion and a voice for students and my peers who had either invisible illnesses or disabilities or my same pain syndrome. But the beautiful thing about my program, and I think that what I hope that every program has that with a child with disability, they view them as a person first and their disability separate. Because I still go to school, I still love theater, I still love to perform and sew and do costumes. And in my program with my peers, I am viewed as a theater artist and a friend, separate from my disability. And that isn't always the case. And when it isn't the case, I feel isolated and a little hurt, because every day I know I am different. And when my peers view me as that, it stings a little bit more. And it's a beautiful thing that my friends and my company and my castmates, they will ask me to help them with parts and things, even though they know that I might be in pain one day or I might not be able to perform a lift. They still want to include me, despite the fact that I have pain. And that makes me feel normal. And I think, for me personally, that is what I desperately want. For 9 years of my life, I've every day wished that I did not have pain. And when my peers don't view me as a disability, or view my disability second, I feel normal, and I feel regular, and I look in the mirror and I don't see disability sharpie on my head. I, of course, hold it in my heart, but now I can hold it in a positive way and remove the negative connotation from that word. And so what I ask you, theater educators, amazing people that you are, is to, with your students who have disability, is to have an honest and open conversation with them. Be able to trust your students and be able to perceive them as lovers of theater before their disability. And of course, everybody does have their ailments and things that they need, considerations that they need, accommodations. It ranges for different disabilities and different illnesses, of course. But the ability to view your students as lovers of theater, because that's why they're in your shows and in your family and want to be a part of this community, is because theater removes the barrier of disability, and being viewed separate from your disability just makes you feel more welcome and warm and invited, and makes you feel more regular and normal, which is what I personally feel every student with disability wants to be. I just want to be viewed as myself, Hailey Brunson, and not Hailey Brunson, proud Californians. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Salwa Meghjee. I'm 18 years old. And I have been thespian, or was thespian for 6 years. And during that entire time, at any competition I ever went to, I saw 2 other hijabis, and one of them was my twin sister. So I have only ever read 2 plays about Muslims, one of which had no Muslim women in it, and another that was about a hijabi, which was wonderful, but she takes her scarf off in the play, so she could never be played by somebody with a real-life experience. I've been told implicitly, but also often explicitly, by both Muslims and non-Muslims, that there's no place for me in theater because I just don't look the part, and that Muslims just don't do those kinds of things. I love theater, but I've never felt like I truly belonged in it. Growing up, I never saw somebody like me on TV or in the books I read. The only representations of Muslims were as terrorists or horribly stereotyped caricatures. And because of all of these signs I was getting from everywhere, from everybody, that I didn't belong, theater felt like an exclusive club that I hadn't been invited to. The theater has traditionally been a place of acceptance for those who are ostracized and don't fit in, but I've often felt like I don't belong, that the arts are only for the type of people that you watch on stage or on a screen. My hijab has actively excluded me from participating in the thing that I love most in the world. The arts are the best avenue to express oneself and showcase different, uncomfortable, and even painful perspectives. But when the arts fail to include a minority, it goes against what the arts fundamentally stand for. The world has always been changed and shaped by the arts, but right now the arts don't fully represent the world. These experiences that I had were challenging, but they also forced me to push the limits that people set for me and accomplish what I wanted to do regardless of what people told me I could do. I get to speak on this panel today as a longtime thespian. I was president of my theater troupe. I get to be associated with these wonderful girls, which is amazing. I've learned so much in the 24 hours that I met them. I had opportunities to act on stage. Ironically, I played Mary Warren in my school's fall production of The Crucible. And with the aid of clever costuming, I blended in as a moral Christian woman. I wrote, produced, and directed a show at the Orlando Shakespeare Theater, and it was with my twin sister, and it was actually just published by Brooklyn Publishers. And that was a way for me to create opportunity for myself, and I felt like there was none existing. And collaborating with my friends on that and with my teachers and pushing our creative boundaries together continues to be the most enlightening and wonderful experience I've had in theater and in life thus far. I competed in playwriting at thespian festivals for 3 years with my sister. We won Best in Show in our senior year, and I received a technical scholarship for playwriting and for the work I did with the Democracy Works Essay Contest in March at my last state festival. And in March of this year, I was invited by Mr. Palmerini and the wonderful people at EdTA to come read my winning Democracy Works essay in front of an entire convention in Washington, D.C. And for the first time ever, I felt like I wasn't only helping myself and advocating for myself, but that I could help every student participate in theater if they want to. Even though there's currently very little media representing Muslims, I find myself at the cusp of a new age in which people like me can write their own stories. And those stories are heard. I can create those stories for the little Muslim girls who come after me, and they won't feel quite so alone in their experience. And they can be welcomed into this community with open arms. Last week, Samuel French published our essays in their magazine, and I woke up that morning to mixed reviews to my essay, but I also woke up to a message from a girl who had gone to my high school, who I had known. She was a few years older than me, and she said, "You don't know who I am, but I know you. I saw you at thespian competitions, and I want you to know that I'm so proud of you, because I'm a Muslim too, and you're representing us, and you're making this community more welcome." And it meant so much to me. Here's that from somebody who had known the community that I came from, and saw my work as impactful and important. I struggled to find opportunities to participate in theater in high school, but I discovered that I could make my own opportunity. The theater continues to be a place where minorities, those rejected, ostracized, and even feared by society, can express themselves, showcase their true identities, and find other people who will give them a place to come home to. It's all of our responsibilities to make sure that all students can find that home in their schools. I didn't ever have an opportunity to do community theater, and school theater was literally my only opportunity to be creative, to find other people who had the same passions as me, and it was the sole reason that I found my passion as a writer. Everyone should be able to have that home too. Through wonderful teachers, through wonderful students, and the International Thespian Society, I've been given opportunities to be part of something bigger than myself. A community of individuals who don't mind that they can't see my hair, as long as I share my heart. As long as arts education strives to ensure that students can share themselves in a supported space, it will continue to be a place of belonging for everyone. Thank you.
Theater is incredibly valuable to high school students in their process of developing their identity and expressing themselves, and we all know this. But when the work's being performed, the ideas being talked about, or at least welcomed to discussion, are able to include anyone, theater becomes essential to high school students. It is an outlet for them to be free of restrictions set in place by the environments they live in. When educational theater programs harness the stage as a place for anyone to discover who they are and the world they live in, the lives of your students will be changed forever. Thank you so much for joining us today. We would not be here if it were not for the impact of all of our teachers, for all of you and all the hard work that you've done to impact our lives, and we cannot express our gratitude enough. Thank you so much for what you do.
cry at keynotes, but I've been crying. So we have a few minutes for questions, and I will remind you again for both Dr. Chisholm and for our students of diversity, they will be doing presentations to students in this right here in this space. So if you have questions, leave your red light card on the table. They will be collected, and we'll try to address it. But we do have time for a few questions for our panelists.
Hello. I want to thank you all, first of all, for coming up here and for being vulnerable and for checking us on our stuff. I have something specific to say to Hailey. If I may speak to you freely, you are not disabled. You are differently abled, just like everybody in this room. And when we are doing our jobs, we teach every single student like they are individuals. You are simply an individual. You said disabled about 20 times, young lady. You said it, no one else. I invite you to recognize how amazing you are. You are simply different, and that is normal. Continue to check us, but recognize yourself as simply different, okay? All right.
Back there, Jim.
I was just wondering if any of you had advice to help us include students from groups that traditionally feel unmarginalized or unwelcomed into the theater dynamic, like you were all mentioning. Any ways that we can, as educators, help include people that don't feel like they belong on the stage?
Hi. We talked about this briefly yesterday in our hotel room. And I know Hailey and I both expressed how in our troops or in our theater classes, it's a more relaxed environment. And I know in my theater club that it starts off with games, and we get people that might have an interest in theater, or not at all, we just provide them with food, and then, and then they come, and a lot of them end up finding that it's more intriguing than they thought. And I know there was a kid in my troupe who started out in theater club, didn't play any of the improv games, was too scared, and then slowly over the course of the year he started playing them more, and then our spring show came around, and we were like, why not audition? Even if you're not comfortable like being like the bigger parts, you can ask for ensemble or anything like that. And he did, and he was amazing. And I think that's just like a great way to like slowly inch people in, and they might develop they have an interest that they didn't realize before.
This is probably addressed to Salwa and Alexandra. How do you, or how would we combat like culturally self-imposed barriers to encourage the families to allow and encourage their students to participate in the arts? I'm thinking in particular like a Latino male needs to be macho, or a Russian girl needs to be focused on family or whatever. What can we do to get the families and the communities to allow their students to participate?
I've had some personal experience with this. I think the way to do it is to be very open with the parents and with the community that those students come from. I know like my school often will have a parents' night, and I can't speak, so I'm just gonna. But my school will often have a parents' night, and my high school, and they would sit and talk with teachers, with the parents, and answer any questions that they had about what theater was really like. We had like demonstrations of everything that we did. We presented like these are what the classes are like. This is what we're doing. These are what our goals are. Just so that the parents could see that maybe their ideas of what theater is are not totally correct. That their students have more to gain than just it's something fun to do. That their kids like. That there's really learning something here. That this is really important to who they are and who they're going to grow to be. That parents' night definitely changed my mother's mind. So I do think it works for other parents as well. And I think Also, what changes minds is when they get to see their kid do amazing things on stage or backstage. My parents definitely have come around in the past few years because they realized how important it was to me and what exactly I was accomplishing, and now they love it. But it was definitely a journey to get there. But I think that would be one of the ways that you could do it. Thanks.
My voice is really bad, so I was wondering, at any time, I try to make accommodations for a lot of my students, whether it's with a disability or Muslim students. I have a very diverse background in where I teach. Are there times when you feel awkward that we're making exceptions for your diversity? I mean, does it single you out sometimes? Because that's something that I've always kind of wondered. Hey, today we're going to do this. And you hear the mumblings and, oh, this is for that person, or this is for that person. Does it actually, at times, single you out and make you feel awkward that people are making accommodations for that?
I'm going to stand talking to you as well. I am different, which I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I'm also biracial, so I can speak to that as well. And I've noticed through actually attending festivals and workshops, this might seem a little far off from what you originally asked, but when I attend master classes, for example, and watch monologues be worked, for whatever reason, I learn something from it, because I can always put myself in that person's shoes, whether it's like, don't fidget your hands when you're nervous, or be confident, or any note. And I think that if you preface the fact that everyone can learn something from every experience, then the students won't feel as singled out, because it's oftentimes, for whatever reason we are diverse, we have a special piece about ourselves that everyone can learn from, or that everyone has a special piece about them. And so if you maybe preface an activity that might tend to single a group of students out, you address the rest of the class or company by saying everyone has something to learn from this, and it's your individual experience that you can take from someone else's story.
So at that, we are going to wrap our morning sessions. One more round of applause for both. Short break, and then we start workshops at 10:30. Go forth and populate your respective workshops. Thank you.